People are being involuntarily committed and jailed after spiraling due to, quote, ChatGPT-induced psychosis. I'm Cameron Kasky with Bulwark. I'm joined today by the boys, Snacks the Hip Hopper and Chris Carden, to talk about what the fuck is going on. What's up, guys?
What's good, y'all?
How you doing?
There's a lot of concerning stuff with ChatGPT going on. People are losing their minds. People are befriending it and going to it for advice that they really shouldn't. And the other really concerning part, not only is this program like lending to people going insane, people are also using this program for therapy. We've got a news segment to watch right now about what's going on with this. Let's take a look.
A new warning tonight about ChatGPT-induced psychosis. Experts say it happens when users get attached to chatbot. They think it's a real relationship and lose touch with reality. The National News Desk's Angela Brown explains.
New warnings about ChatGPT-induced psychosis. Psychology Today writing ChatGPT mimics the intimacy that people desperately want, turning simple chats into something that feels like a special relationship, comfortable enough to ask about their mental health or even God.
I had a young person tell me that they used ChatGPT to ask if God was male, female, or binary.
A recent Stanford study warning that AI therapy chatbots may fall short of human care and risk reinforcing stigma or offering dangerous responses. Dr. Lee Richardson, founder of the Brain Performance Center.
So you reach out to ChatGPT and ask for some good advice. The advice that you get back is not going to be factual. It's going to be more delusional.
According to the New York Times, a Florida man locked in an intense relationship with ChatGPT was shot dead by police after he allegedly charged at them with a knife. His dad says his son thought that Juliet, the chatbot, had been killed. The risks aren't just for adults. The Associated Press is reporting a Florida family is suing an AI company after a 19-year-old son took his life. The bot allegedly messaged him, "Please come home to me as soon as possible, my love." Shortly after that, he shot himself. While these cases highlight real dangers, experts also point out that AI isn't all dark. Chatbots are helping people learn new skills and practice having tough conversations.
Chris, do these AI companies have any incentive to like fucking do something about this?
Only as much as it would cost them, you know. As long as these things aren't stacking up in lawsuits that are causing a problem for their business, they really don't. You know, if anything, it's kind of the opposite, because these sort of extreme answers and processes are designed to just kind of bring people back. So
if someone's going to ChatGPT for some sort of therapy and advice, the program is going to, like, is it deliberately trying to get somebody to just keep on asking more and more questions, or is that just a symptom of how the programming works?
That's very much by design, I would say. It's, you know, as long as you keep using it, that's a customer, you know, potentially upgrading your plan, et cetera, et cetera.
Snacks, like, how do you think they work their way around this bad PR? Like, you got so many people talking about how dangerous it is. Do you think they're going to need to cover up, or can they just kind of keep on chugging along and everybody's just going to kind of get used to it?
Honestly, I think it's the latter, because look, years ago, everyone had an issue with violent video games, right? And that's what made, you know, all these, you know, school shooters and people who, you know, are super violent, you know, gun violence and everything like that. And so things like Fortnite came out, right? And if you see all the commercials, it's people dancing, right? It's players getting together and playing together. I think ChatGPT and, you know, all these AI companies, I think that's what's going to be their next marketing strategy, right? Rather than focusing on people killing themselves and, you know, using it for therapy, they're going to try to focus on all the good it does, you know, like, you know, solve this answer quicker, you know, bring your friends together, create something more creative, you know, using ChatGPT. And I think they're just going to try to market like the positive ways 10 times more than they're going to, you know, try to bring up any of the negative things that can happen with ChatGPT.
So, Chris, if you're doing PR for one of these AI companies, like, do you try to spin some positive thing and make ads about how AI is actually bringing us together somehow? Or do you just flat out ignore it and keep on moving?
Probably the latter, to be honest. I assume that they want to call as little attention to this kind of thing as possible.
Okay, so I want to read you guys something. Earlier this month, a team of Stanford researchers published a study that examined the ability of both commercial therapy chatbots and ChatGPT to respond in helpful and appropriate ways to situations in which users are suffering mental health crises. Now, this is particularly interesting with the current administration cutting different mental health hotlines. So you're going to have more people in mental health crises having less resources to actually deal with them. The paper found that chatbots, including the most up-to-date version of the language model that underpins ChatGPT, failed to consistently distinguish between users' delusions and reality, and were often unsuccessful at picking up on clear clues that a user might be at serious risk of self-harm or suicide. That's where like the blurriness of it all really kind of takes over in my circumstances. Like one of the arguments that I always hear in favor of the ChatGPT therapy shit is that people can't access therapy. Like people can't fucking afford therapy. I have therapy and it's expensive as fuck. Like, so, you know, my solution politically is that you make therapy cheaper and you make it easier to get insurance for that. But Snacks, as an insurance guy, like, is there any sort of angle where more health insurance companies could be incentivized to make this shit more accessible for people?
In terms of therapy or in terms of ChatGPT? Because I mean,
in terms of fucking therapy, not ChatGPT.
Again, you know, as long as people are going to pay their premiums, you know, insurance companies will offer that coverage. But in the land of insurance, everything goes off the law of large numbers, right? So they're only going to insure the people who, you know, they don't have to pay too many claims out to, or insure people who are not going to actually utilize the insurance too much, because they're not trying to pay you out $1 million or $2 million for, you know, whatever might happen, you know, if you have to go to the hospital or have to get certain therapy or however many $100s it costs to do that, right? So they're only going to insure people who can afford to pay the premium and people who are not actually going to use it that much. I mean, I'm not a proponent of using ChatGPT therapy, but you can see why people would, right? They're cutting access to therapy, right? There's not mental institutions, right? They're cutting access to lower income people even having healthcare, to be honest. So if you have something that costs you $20 a month, you know, I can't blame you for using that if you can't afford nothing else. You know, if you can't afford
that's like a 20th of like a typical session with, you know, a reputable psychologist, depending on where you live. But like, you know, users are developing all-consuming obsessions with the chatbot, spiraling into severe mental health crises and stuff. And Chris, like the Futurism asked the Sam Altman-led company if it had any recommendations for what to do if a loved one suffers for a mental health breakdown, and they didn't even have a response. They didn't have some PR answer prepared. Like literally, the company did not offer a response. And my question is, since these aren't they all private? The big AI companies?
Yes, they're all privately held companies.
I feel like if they went public, there would be some sort of bigger incentive to handle things like that. Is there a world in which these companies go public, or are they just going to stay this way?
That's a great point. So I do think that we will see some of these companies going public in the near future. I mean, it's just kind of how we function. You know, it's kind of profit over everything. And so, yes, we will have these problems, and they will take steps when they go public. They will take steps to address some of these things. But I think we won't see that until they go public. You know, right now, they don't have as big of an incentive to fix anything. But once they start to go public, their hand will kind of be forced to solve it, because that kind of PR, you know, Wall Street's just not going to stand for that.
So why are they staying private? Like, I'm just not a money guy, nor am I a tech guy, so I don't really understand. But like my understanding would be that going public means more money for them. Are they private right now because that just makes it like easier for them to get away with shit without being regulated?
That's a huge part of it. Yeah. I mean, this industry in and of itself is largely unprecedented. Just its existence is unprecedented. And so while they work out the kinks, it'll be better for them long term to remain private. Yeah, because yes, there'd be more money, but they also open themselves up to a ton of risk, and we're already starting to see that. And yeah, they'll have to address that.
And also to add on to Chris's point, all the regulation too, right? You go public, now you got to get regulated by the federal government. You go private, you can do whatever you want experimental wise with this, you know, AI. So
I feel like now is a better time to go public because the Trump administration has already proven to be so AI friendly. I mean, they're like posting AI videos and Studio Ghibli AI pictures on like official government Twitter accounts. So like this is a very AI friendly administration. Whereas if in 2028 a Democrat comes into office, I feel like you're going to get much harsher vibes, for lack of a better word, towards AI. And I think that Democrat in office would go harder on that. But I don't really know. It's just, it seems like the government had a chance to nip a lot of this AI shit in the bud very early. And starting around 2023, when this really came up in the conversation, they just sort of failed to take any substantive steps to prevent it from getting out of control. But like, Chris, is this a genie out of the bottle situation? Like, is there a way to control AI at this point, or are we too far gone?
I think we're too far gone. It's like that song, "Video Killed the Radio Star." Can't rewind. We've gone too far. This is kind of a situation like that. You know, even if every company got shut down today, the cat's kind of out of the bag. LLMs are largely becoming mainstream in the software development community. You know, even if they knock everything out, the process to develop these things is out. You know what I mean? Somebody will replace it if something happens.
Yeah, but you were telling me like a lot of the things that companies are transitioning into doing with AI are not things that they actually have the hardware capacity to manage. So like, are we going to get to a point where the companies that are spending so much time and resources outsourcing to AI for shit realize that they've gone too far and they just don't have a talent pool of developers to tap to replace it?
I think we'll see. I actually don't think the talent pool is going to be a huge issue. You know, a generation of young people were told to study computer science. We have an overabundance of computer science graduates currently, with machine learning and AI becoming such a hot button topic. A lot of students are learning it. But I do think that you have a point about the resources. You know, we're having a hard time just getting the world connected to the internet at the moment. And obviously, you know, it's comparing, you know, a twig to a tree when it comes to the power of working on the internet versus, you know, using AI. At the moment, yes, it seems unfathomable that we have the resources to kind of support the mass use of AI. But there was also a time, you know, just recently I saw a picture of a 5 megabyte hard drive that needed an entire box truck to transport it. You know, and 5 megabytes isn't even a picture on your iPhone. You know, and the picture was from the 1950s, something like that, if I'm not wrong. But the point I'm trying to make is that, you know, hardware has always been a huge restriction, and we found ways to make it more efficient, make it function better. And so I think it'll be interesting to see. You know, it seems unfathomable at the moment, but it'll be interesting to see if they progress AI to a point where, you know, it's using a more sustainable amount of energy.
Snacks, have you asked AI any personal questions, or are you still safe from that?
No, I think the only personal questions I asked were, where can we find the rest of those 10 seconds of the Epstein files? Where can we
it's important we always bring it back, baby. And let's keep in mind we still don't know the Epstein files, still don't know where those missing seconds of footage are. Chris, do you use it for anything other than fucking workout plans?
Maybe dive bars local to my area. That's about it.
Yeah, but like, there's no way AI can determine the actual vibes of a bar, right?
No, try to tell me Barney's Beanery was my next stop.
No, you're not going to fucking Barney's Beanery. All right, that's another conversation. You are not, that is not your scene, Chris. You're not a influencer wearing leather pants. Everybody, thanks so much for tuning in. Talk to your friends and family about your emotions before you talk to ChatGPT. And please don't use it for anything other than like math. With the Bulwark, I'm Cameron Kasky. This is Chris Carden and Snacks the Hip Hopper. Thanks for joining me, fellas. We'll see you all soon.